So today I would just love to share with you how you can preserve some of your harvest for the winter by using ice cube trays. These are so easy to find, and we'll start with eggs. Now I read that it is super easy to just freeze your eggs, so pop them in the freezer whole in the shell, let them thaw in your refrigerator, and you will have perfect eggs to use. Well, that is not right. Please do not do this. I will show you the end product here, and it was just awful. So I thawed my egg as instructions said. Mine fortunately did not crack, as many will do. But look at the texture of this yolk. Once it has thawed, this is completely inedible. So what I'd like to do is just share with you how you can easily freeze eggs and keep those so that you can use them all through the winter. Once you've frozen them, they are good for 1 year. So just take a blender or a little chopper. I'm using my chopper just for the purposes of a demonstration, and I'm going to use 6 eggs, and we'll give them a good blend, and then I want to strain them. You could probably skip this step, but I did have some little solids in there, so that will just make them a little bit more smooth if you strain it. And then into a measuring cup, and then I just pour them right into my ice cube tray, and I'll freeze them overnight, and then the next day this is what they look like. You can just pop these right out of the tray and into a Ziploc bag. And so basically 2 of these would equal 1 egg if I wanted to use them for baking or just for fresh scrambling. Thaw them in the refrigerator overnight before you want to use them, and then you can just scramble them up maybe the next morning. So I tested the texture and the flavor just to kind of see how it was. And I do think it helped that I cooked them in a little bit of butter. So I melted a little bit of unsalted butter and then into my little egg pan here on about medium-low heat. And I was very surprised at the end result. A little bit of salt and pepper, and they were delicious. They really turned out great. And like I said, I think it's because of the butter. So on that note, I think that a really easy way to preserve some of your herbs is by making a compound butter. So I have a lot of beautiful herbs growing in my container garden all through the summer and into the fall. And one of the easiest ways and most flavorful ways, I think, to preserve them is to just make a little compound butter. I use this all through the winter. I can make some herb garlic toast. I also like to just throw a little tablespoon of it in with maybe some seafood. Helps make a little nice sauce. There are so many different ways that you can use a compound butter, especially right there on top of a steak. Some of my favorite herbs to put in a compound butter include chives and rosemary, but of course you can use tarragon and parsley, all kinds of wonderful herbs. So just take some softened butter, and I like to put just a little bit of salt and pepper, maybe some cayenne pepper, along with some olive oil. I had about a cup of butter to about a cup of olive oil, just to make it a little bit more healthy whenever I go to use it. And we'll whip it really well. So one thing I like to put in my compound butters is minced shallot, but I don't like it raw in the butter, so I saute them for about 2 to 3 minutes in some olive oil, and I'll let those cool in my refrigerator before I add them to the compound butter. Garlic, like grated garlic, is really good in your compound butter as well. Just make them your own, and you will just love having little cubes of this butter all through the winter and into the spring. Now, sometimes I will blanch my herbs just so they keep their color and their flavor. And so you'll just put those in some hot water, shock them in some cold water, and I'll chop them up before I put them into the blended butter. I don't whip the herbs in with the butter. I just kind of fold them in there at the end. And so I'll just cover this with a little piece of parchment paper, some plastic wrap, and into the freezer they go overnight. So these are just perfect. I just love using these all through the winter. And if you want to take all of that oxygen out of the bag, just open up the top of your bag and submerge it into some water, and that will force the air out, and then you can close it at the top like that, and it's almost like it's been vacuum sealed. Okay, and then another way I like to preserve my herbs is just to add a little bit of water. This is an example using parsley, and I'll just put them in my chopper, blend them down, pop them in my ice cube trays, freeze them, and into a bag they go. And that is just great for soups. I just like adding that right at the end when I'm cooking soup. And then here, I like to use ice cube trays for hot chili peppers. It's just perfect if you want to add a little bit of heat to something that you're cooking. Just mince your hot chili pepper down real well. I de-seeded these red jalapenos, and then into each tray they went, and I froze them overnight and now into a bag, and that will be perfect for soup or corn muffins, anything like that. So I hope you are able to use some of these ideas, and thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a beautiful day.